Welcome to Julie Whitney Scott Presents Let's Talk Theater, a Mind for God production sponsored event, heard only on WGRN LP 94.1, the Green Renaissance Station. Let's Talk Theater.
The first time I read it, I was like, well, it's got a few laughs, and I thought there's obviously, not necessarily a message, but there's definitely some great stuff, some great social content going on there. But as we've gone through it, it's been clear there are a lot of laughs. So I saw where you were coming from and sent it my way. So we've been able to work in quite a few laughs. I know there's going to be some nervous laughter in the audience, but I think there's going to be some regular laughter, that's not nervous laughter as well. The guys have done great work on it, and just the way it's set up, it feels real. I know I've been in these kind of conversations, not the specific one. But it's just a guy calling to change his password, and he gets hung up on an N-word. But I guess that's my synopsis. But there's so much more to it than that, and these guys, our actors, are really hitting the levels there.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I really liked about this play is, number one, the humor in it. Because it made me laugh at myself and think about the times when I've been on the telephone talking to another worker, somewhere and having these feelings in my head that they're making assumptions about me when they can't even see me. But by the way because of the tone of their voice or something that they say, it triggers in me like, wait a minute, where are you going with this? And which can make a simple call, as we're going to find out in Black Irish, where you can get a simple answer, turn into something that is just, I ain't going to spoil it.
Well, actually, I think I was telling these guys, I was out to dinner with some people, and someone was talking about when you call a place and you're spelling your name. And I'm like, well, if I got a show for you, because they were like, I never know what word to say. I don't know. I didn't serve in the Army. I don't know what to say. And I was like, I got a show for you. Just because there's not an N in your name. There's one in mine, but I never have to spell Stephen usually. It's usually the Woosley I have to spell.
Yeah, because it's just like, this is something that happens every day. Because we are in a society where we are forced to talk to people that we do not know about our situations on the telephone after usually we've waited for half an hour for them to pick it up. So we're already irritated by the time the customer service worker starts to work.
This is why if I can do it online, I do it online. I think a lot of people do that.
Yeah, I've started to do that. I found it's easier to get your answers quick. All right.
Chat with the robot.
Okay. Mr. Whitehead, I am so happy to have you this year at the festival. Last year you came out and auditioned, and we just didn't have the right role for you. But this year, we've had 2 roles for you. And I'm so excited about that because you are a really good actor. Tell us about your role in Black Irish. You play Peter. Who is Peter?
Peter could be any one of us. Peter is a working man who is at the end of a long week, the end of the day. He just needs a little bit of help from customer support. And he realizes as he's talking on the phone, he makes an assumption that a correct assumption that the person he's talking to is black, and he gets nervous by that, and that leads to a series of faux pas that increase in severity until he starts talking. You're like, what are you saying, dude? No, you can't say that. It's a cautionary tale, I would say, but it is very funny, and it does speak to that kind of nervousness of not wanting to offend anyone, but with Peter, you can kind of see that concept to its extreme where you can look at it and be like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely never going to do that. That's not, I don't think I would ever think that's my best option here. So definitely someone that you can kind of sympathize with, but also someone where it's like, okay, no, that's, this guy is like, I don't know what he's talking about.
Have you ever found yourself in a situation like that? That has helped you be able to bring Peter to life?
That's a great question. I can't quite think of anything off the top of my head. But yeah, I certainly just generally like, okay, I don't really want to offend anyone, so I'm going to be careful about what I say, and then you might because you're being careful, you end up saying something off color, and it's like, oh, I didn't mean to say that. I can't think of any specifics, but that general situation is kind of this whole play, except to, like I said, to a logical extreme.
Thank you so much. Rachel, you have a small role, but it's important to this play because it's set in an atmosphere where it starts off where people are separated and don't know who they are. But in the end, they end up coming together and not even realizing it at your usual place where people end up at the end of a hard working day, at your local bar or your local club. And so you play the bartender. Now, what do you think is the most important thing that comes out of this play?
At the end of the day, to use that term, humanity. People are not perfect. People make mistakes. Sometimes they make big mistakes. But there's humanity. And I think the message, if you will, of this play is that even imperfect people, as we all are, can rectify those mistakes, can learn from those mistakes, and given the right circumstances, can really grow from those mistakes and realize that we're all human beings. We're all part of the same fabric of the world, and we have more in common than we have differences. And sometimes it takes a drink in a bar to bring those commonalities together. And I think that that's what this play is really saying is, look at people as you would want to be treated yourself. We're all human beings.
You know, Rachel, this is the second year that you've been with the Columbus Black Theater Festival. I'm so happy to have you back with us. Now, you know, last year our theme was inclusion.
Right.
And this year the theme is say something. It might change something.
Right.
And so I like what you just said, because that is one of the things that you can take away from Black Irish, is that we are just human.
Right.
We're just people,
Right.
and we make mistakes,
Yes.
as the one character does over and over again in this play. So I first want to just thank you for coming back and being with us this year, and tell you that I can't wait to see you in Black Irish.
Thank you.
Demetreus, this is your first year with the Columbus Black Theater Festival, and I'm so happy that you're with us. This year, you're going to be in 2 plays. Talk to us about this play, Black Irish. Who are you? Who is your character?
Well, I played Devon James, but I prefer Devon James. But honestly, Devon is the typical guy that's working at a call center. It's at the end of the day, he gets a call in that he's just really not trying to deal with and trying to get through the best he can. And everybody has those triggers. So I think once you get to that one letter, it's a good trigger that comes to him. And I can definitely say, playing Devon, I did have some sympathy for Peter as well. But then I'm sure we've all been in those situations, like everybody said, where things just keep tumbling down. And then we might say that since it's the end of the day, you know, people got a little bit more stress. Nobody knows what calls came before. And Devon just didn't like some of the words that Peter said. So it definitely takes a ring or two where he wants to kind of teach a lesson, and then things escalate after that.
You being an African-American male, has this ever happened to you?
I want to say no, but more than likely, yes, more times than I can count. Just with one of those things, like there's an aspect where Devon says his name, and the other person on the side of the phone, Peter, he's trying to be cool from there, trying to make a connection, and it's like we could have moved past this whole situation of trying to be the cool guy just because he knows the person on the phone is black. So I've definitely been in situations where people sometimes they just say one wrong thing, and it just tumbles after that. So I've been in about 5 situations I can count.
One thing I can say as an African-American, when I was working as a counselor, I was talking to someone and made an appointment to bring in one of my clients who was mentally ill. But you know how we label people. At this time in our society, people with mental illness were called customers. That just shows you how we are. But anyway, I set up this appointment for my customer. And when I took her to the place, we were sitting in the office waiting on the therapist to come in. I was taking her to a different type of therapist. When the woman came in, she was white. I was black. And the woman, my customer, was also black. Well, when the woman came in, who was white, she sat down and started working. So I looked after about 30 seconds. I said, "Excuse me, are you getting ready to start? When are you going to start talking to her?" And she said, "Well, I will as soon as her case manager gets here."
Oh.
Wow.
I said, "I'm her case manager." And this whole look on her face was utter embarrassment, disbelief, because I had two things. One, my name was Julie. How many black Julies you know? And two, I speak in a professional manner when I'm doing business. So as I speak in a professional manner when I'm doing business over the telephone, people think they're talking to a white woman. So that's another reason why this play really hit me at how funny it is. Because we sometimes think about people based on what we hear and names, like Julie.
And that's a funny thing
You
in the
know.
black community too, because people, not to cut you off or anything, but people would say when black people get on the phone, they use their white voice.
Exactly. I mean,
and it's not anything where you're using white voice. You're just talking more properly than you would normally talk.
Exactly. As my father would always say, speak the King's English. Because that's what is acceptable. Is speaking properly versus just talking any way you want to talk, the way you normally talk to people. So that's why I like Black Irish, because it showed the irony in me personally. I've lived that, where people over and over again thought I was somebody else until I actually came on the scene, and then it's like, "Oh, Julie's black." Yeah, so thank you so much. Wait a minute, hold on.
I didn't know
Some of
that
that-
was the second question. Not.
Now, sometimes I just throw stuff in there. This is Let's Talk Theater. So what would you like for the audience to take away from Black Irish and your character?
That's a good question. I want them to take away that it is a play, first and foremost, but there are serious moments like this that actually happen in real life. And I basically want people just to understand sometimes we just need a second to think before we judge or make assumptions of people. And also think before we say something, because like in the play, Peter says that he doesn't want to offend them. But usually when somebody says that, they're usually being offensive. So there's times where less is more. So just taking that moment to think before you talk, and you might not have to go into a far explanation, because sometimes we don't need explanations. So
What would you like for the audience to take away from your character, Peter, in Black Irish?
Yeah, I think Peter is just a great example of what not to do. You can sympathize with him. You can see like, oh, yeah, he's just nervous. He's trying to be cool because he has figured out that the person he's talking to is black, but he really does not come off as cool ultimately. So it's just really it's just saying, all right, you can look at what Peter does and just don't do that, and just relax, be cool in like the more chill sense, and like just treat people the way you want to be treated, and don't go out of your way to try to make yourself seem like more of an ally or more of a someone who knows what they're talking about when it comes to other cultures, if you're not. And just accept that sometimes you may be a little bit ignorant of, other people and other people's backgrounds, and that's okay. That's life. We are a collection of our own experiences, and Peter is just not someone who you can tell from the play, he's just not someone who has interacted with a lot of black people in his life. And that is okay because we all have different backgrounds. But he just kind of starts talking and talking and talking, and you just wish he would stop. And so, just a good example of what not to do.
So, in other words, don't be a Peter.
Don't be a Peter. Don't be a Peter Butane. You can look at where he's coming from. You can see, like, okay, that's a tricky situation, but don't be a Peter.
Even as the director of Black Irish, the person that brought this whole thing to life and helped your actors shape it and form it, what would you, for the overall thing, want the audience to walk away with from Black Irish?
I guess it's, we see this on social media all the time or whatever, just the idea that, that person on the other end, the person you run into, don't, I think the rest of my cast has said similar things. Don't make assumptions about folks. Treat people the way you'd want to be treated, and that person may be going through something you don't know about. So, don't make assumptions that because they're acting this way, it's because of A or B or C. You don't know what's going on in their life, just like not everyone knows what's going on in your life. So, and kind of the way me and Baxter and Demetreus decided was this is the end of a work day. This is the end of our Friday work day. It's been a long week. It's been a long day. It's 4:45. But that last call for both of them, the one guy just wants his password, and anyone who has tried to change their password through a help desk can relate to Peter. And anyone who's taken that call from a customer at 4:45 on Friday can relate to Devon. So, I think somebody also mentioned that going to get a drink together can be a good thing too, if you're so inclined. But I know it always works for me. So hopefully everyone, I'll meet you at the bar. We'll have a drink and we'll talk about it in more depth there.
All right, we'll be there after the 9th annual Columbus Black Theater Festival. Get your tickets today. You don't want. Thank you for joining me, Julie Whitney Scott, your producer and host of Let's Talk Theater, a Mind for God Productions sponsored event, heard only on WGRN LP 94.1. For the full video interview, go to my Julie Whitney Scott Facebook page.